A. Thank you to our partners, George McCoy, Warren Allen, attorneys at law, A. Resorts and Casinos. What a great 2 days we had up in Ridgefield at A. It was fantastic.
It was absolutely fantastic. You kidding me? I loved it. I'm exhausted.
Oh, you still tired? Still feeling it, are you?
I'm still. I mean, well, I had the game Friday night,
Yeah.
and I had the game Saturday night,
Okay.
and then I had in-laws yesterday.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen to you.
So and then we got basketball again tonight at 5.
See?
So just not really letting up.
All things are great. It's not that bad.
No.
Come on.
It's a good kind of
We're living the life right now. This was great.
No, are you kidding me? I wouldn't trade it for anything. A was fantastic. The rooms were awesome. The sports book was amazing. The food and drink overflowed like a Greek party.
Big
I
ups
loved
to
it.
the P1s, all the P1s that came out, celebrated the tourney getting underway with the opening 2 rounds, whether you were there on Thursday, Friday for the round of 64, or you went back for some more on Saturday, Sunday with the rounds of 32. It was a fantastic event all the way around. Loved seeing all the P1s. Special thanks to Jake the Hater. Jake the Hater, first of all, locked down the bar for 2 days
For
straight.
multiple days.
I'm not sure he left.
No,
I'm not sure he left. But he brought some fine meats
he did.
as well. Big ups to Jake the Hater. We got to see a lot of the P1s out there. We saw Richard who came out, and he was wearing his Jerome Kersey t-shirt, telling us all about all of the games that he has seen as a Portland Trailblazer fan from day one. It's always cool to be out there, and guess what? We're hitting the road again. This week, Thursday, Friday, we're going to be at X Golf Tualatin on Thursday, X Golf Vancouver on Friday, a 2-day event, one at each of the X Golf locations for the round of 16. So giddy up. I'm ready to get back at it, and we get to go hit the golf simulators this time.
Yeah. It's funny when our sales folks, they're like, "Hey, thanks for doing this," and I'm like,
It was really fun.
What do you mean, thanks for doing this?
great
I'm
time.
leaving the studio to either go to a casino or go to a golf simulator.
That's right. And we also met P1 Kevin, or P1 Orange O guy.
There you go.
Oregon State fan.
We even signed the O.
Super fan. We did. We signed the O, the Oregon State O that goes in the student section. He has an elaborate plan for how he's going to hand it off.
There you go.
It's the student's responsibility moving forward. But it was a great day. Great event all the way around. Woo! Got a cough that snuck up on me. Everybody have a good weekend. Will Ortner's in the building. Hi, Will Ortner.
What's up, dude?
It was weird not seeing you there. Usually you just live at A.
I had FOMO.
those first 2 days.
It was tough, but you know what? Family comes first. I had to be out at a wedding in San Diego. It did hurt my feelings.
Who got married?
My cousin.
Okay, good.
I was groomsman number 12.
Excuse me?
12?
Excuse me?
Yeah, there were 24 of us,
Good God.
if you count the women, the bridesmaids.
That is too many.
12
That's too many.
Look, as someone
That's just
who
too many.
has never been married nor has ever been close, I just shut up and did what I was told. And I was told you are the last guy in line and you walk down the aisle with this person and you just keep doing those things.
You are a good bookend, though.
Yeah,
You're a
I'd
tall
say,
man.
yeah.
You're a tall, big, beefy dude. You're a good bookend on the end of that wedding party.
Well, look, when you look
solid.
at
I don't know if you're 12 though.
when you look at that wedding party, there was a very clear size difference between 12 and everybody else.
Yeah, you can't
It-
stick in the middle. You'll stick out like a sore
A
thumb.
lot of soccer players, a lot of
Okay.
people that weren't going to be able to see over each other. There were a lot of people very upset, though, when the vests came in and I was the same size as the rest of them.
Oh, so you got some portly fellers, huh?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was a man who had to come up to me and ask to switch.
Oh.
The vest was too tight on his belly.
Oh man.
Fit
Yeah,
into a
that's-
large, no big deal.
But hey, you're again. How old is he? How old are you?
He was what, 24, 25?
Oh, so
Oh.
same age. Oh, that's
Yeah, I was
that's
the old
tough.
one. I was old and bald, and everyone else was young
Yeah,
and
but
had hair.
you weren't at A. You weren't at A.
I know. I had FOMO. I saw your dude who was a cowboy and then also was in like a denim onesie.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the jumper.
I was a lot of FOMO.
He
Yeah.
came juicy for Rop too.
Yeah.
I mean, he had his
He was
outfits
dialed.
lined up and dialed in.
Yeah.
We do have some. We have some Fane Madness All Stars now. No, those are always good to have. The Will Ortner's in. No Jeff Rust all week this week. Are you in all week?
No, I'm in today. You've got
Okay.
Schultze
Okay.
Tomorrow and Wednesday, and then I'm back Thursday, Friday.
There we go. Because it's spring break. He's Rusty.
Oh, Russ is
Does the
taking
organ.
spring break.
He's doing the spring
Okay.
break thing. Yeah. Kids out spring break. He's at the beach. I went to the beach this past weekend. Lights out weather.
Yeah.
We had sun every day. We went to beautiful Cannon Beach where they got a rabbit problem. You know they got a rabbit
Oh
problem?
yeah, no,
there?
yeah, no. Some bleepity bleep decided to let their rabbits out there too long ago, and
Now they're all over the
now
place.
they're all over, which is weird because you would think maybe some of the predators would come down from the hills and come clean them up,
They do.
but not enough.
They do.
Not enough.
Yeah, well, have you ever I mean they have the term, like rabbits for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
And they are repopulating.
Oh,
Now-
yeah,
Now they have like these pamphlets that they're handing out.
like don't feed the rabbits.
No, that this is why we're capturing the rabbits because it's not safe for them to be out here. Essentially, like they are overpopulating. The predators are coming down, getting a little too close to the city. So we are
There's
taking
no-
them and rehoming them.
There's no wolves out there, right? We don't. have any
no,
wolves on the
I don't
coast.
think no wolves.
I know we
no
have.
wolves.
I know we have murder kittens.
Yep. Well, there was that cougar that got trapped out on Haystack Rock. Remember, just last
That's
spring.
right.
What'd she do?
She was looking for a young 20-something. Looking for a
She into
tall,
bald men?
balding guy.
She and the
Yeah,
guys that can
yeah.
look like Zach Bryan.
That I'm glad you're now Zach Bryan and no
Yeah.
longer Travis Kelsey.
I got called Travis Kelsey.
That ship has sailed.
No, not
that
true.
ship is in the middle of the Atlantic.
At
right
the
now,
wedding,
bud.
I was called Travis more than Zach, but I was
That's
called
not
by
true.
both.
Okay, how many seeds did you have to plant for that to happen?
Absolutely none.
All of them.
Uh-huh.
Can't,
All
nope,
of them.
none. They came up to me
I start
and
calling
said,
you
"What's
Johnny
up, Travis?"
Appleseed.
Yeah, that's right. He's just sprinkling Travis Kelsey all
Where,
over.
where are you going to go with that?
You're just planting those Travis Kelsey seeds all over.
I can't help it with who my celebrity lookalikes are.
That's not one.
Then why do people keep saying I look like him?
Because you keep bringing it up.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Because you bring it up and people feel very uncomfortable and they're like, yeah, I guess.
No, I bring
like,
it
are
up
you ever going to
after.
let this go, guy?
I bring it up after. They bring it up first.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. All right. But yeah, went to the Oregon coast. We had great weather, sunny every day. And then a lot of rabbits. Ran into a herd of elk. That slows
Ooh.
down. Yeah, just crossing the street.
Majestic animal.
They are massive.
Also, not the a-hole of the deer world.
No, they just do
just
their
kinda do-
business.
It's moose.
In and out.
Moose are the a-holes.
Yeah.
They're the ones that cause all the problems.
Yeah, that is true.
It's problematic.
That is true. But there was one issue that we ran into. And I don't know I don't know where to go with this, but when
Okay.
you were when you were in Cannon Beach,
Mm-hmm.
we went around and we're like, hey, where can we go? And we had like a TV in our room, right? But where can we go? Because Oregon played Creighton at 6:40.
Oh, like a sports
Ended up
bar?
7:00.
Yeah.
Not even looking for a sports bar. A place with TVs.
Mm.
The answer was the Screw and Brew. Yeah. Which
I'm Googling that just to tamper with my...
it is it's not
search
what you
history.
think it is on the surface, but when you think about what it could be, yeah, it's a hardware store that is a restaurant and bar. And it was the only
Oh,
place that
yeah.
has televisions in it to
I've-
watch the games.
I've
And it
been
was
there.
great. The food was great. Yeah, everybody has been to Cannon
Yeah.
Beach. You've been to the Screw and Brew. But it's the only place that you can go and you can like watch the game. Like there's most of the bars don't even have TVs in them. Like don't even have TVs in them.
That is interesting.
It was wild to me. So, yep, took my family on down to the Screw and Brew where we watched the Oregon Creighton game. And it was great food. It was the only place to watch the games, apparently. And everywhere we went, we're like, hey, you got TVs? They're like, no, you guys got to go to Screw and Brew. That's where the TVs are. And, on the surface, my wife is having second thoughts about this because, well, we have 2 children with us, taking them to the Screw and Brew. It was great.
Usually that's what comes out of the
It
screw.
was awesome. It was awesome. So I ended up watching the game at the Screw and Brew on Saturday night. And every other game, I'm happy to announce the Oregon Coast has upgraded their cellular coverage.
Oh,
I was able to watch a lot of the games just on my phone.
Just streaming along.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was great. And not many glitches. There were a couple places that we went where you couldn't catch all of the action, but you were able to catch up. It was fantastic.
Were there others at the Screw and Brew partaking in the madness?
Everybody was.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's why they were there.
Okay, I was wondering, were there others that were seeking out said television?
Yeah, oh yeah, everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody is. You're just sitting there like, where can we watch? Well, there's one place, so you go. Everybody's there. They're all there for the same reason. It was great. It was fantastic. Yeah, and this texture, I was a little bit surprised. We went to Pelican. Pelican's got one of their locations in Cannon Beach. No TVs in there, which is great when you're out there just having dinner with the family. No TVs. Whoop.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like
Huh.
you're sitting there just like with your family and talking with them.
Eh.
That's overrated. In Carlsbad, I was getting weird looks for asking for the games to be on the TV.
What were they wanting to watch?
I don't know, dude. They're people who want to
Reality
surf.
TV?
It's Carlsbad Coyotes. It's like right on the beach. They're just trying to surf. They were shocked. Like, hey, can you turn on the game? Yeah, to all the TVs? No, there's multiple games. I need them on all the different TVs.
Yeah.
It was a thing.
See, that's not on you. That's on them. That's on them. You have to know.
I blame Cindy.
Every bartender has got to know what games are on or what the important events are. You know? Like, how often do you go into a bar and, like, there's still got, like, TNT on? You're watching, like, reruns of Bones, and you're sitting there like, why in the hell? And then you realize, oh, it's a Friday. They just had the TNT games on from Thursday night, the night before,
Just haven't changed
and
it.
they haven't changed the TVs yet.
Mhm.
See, that's on the bartender. You've got to know that we got to change these TVs. TNT is not your go-to. Impractical Jokers shouldn't be on the TV all day long. When we've transitioned away from True TV having their moment in the sun, now it's just CBS, TBS, and TNT.
What's the Charmed? Charmed, the ones that's on.
Charmed is on TNT a lot.
Supernatural.
in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we as a bartender, you got to know. You got to know where you're going. TV's got to be dialed in.
You think by now we should be able to program those things?
Bartenders?
Oh yeah.
Bartenders,
but
we should
TV.
program them.
Yeah.
Like, just have it to where
It
you
just searches out sports.
Yeah.
I
and
feel
you
like
can-
it's a job for AI.
you could power rank like what sports are important to your bar specifically in your app.
Build your
there.
own algorithm.
Yeah, like you
See?
just say these are like you do with every app that you sports app is like, what are your favorite teams?
Mhm.
And then you get push notifications that you're like, God, why is this happening? I don't care anymore. Over and over and over
Yes.
again. You do that with your TV though.
Yes.
Yeah. So like a Portland bar would have like you'd have Blazers, Ducks, Timbers, Thorns, Beavers. You know, you could throw Cougs and Huskies in there, and if any of those are on, boop beep boop pop boop beep,
Yep, just up there.
and then you could override it. You know, for these are the games.
Just grab the clicker.
Yeah, grab the clicker and you
See?
can override it. But when you turn the TVs on, boom, set.
Sports is hard.
I like
Otherwise, it just searches out ESPN, the Ocho.
I think you're onto something
Yeah,
there.
Just
I
saying.
think you're onto something there.
Just saying.
Yep.
You can populate the data.
Oh man. All right. Well, we had good weekends. We're sportsing hard today, though.
Mm.
We got a lot of sports. We have the women's tournament is going on.
It is.
And it is actually of note here locally because some of these teams are going to be coming on to Portland this weekend, Friday, Saturday. You got the Sweet 16 Elite 8 of the women's tournament is in Portland Region 3 and Portland Region 4, which is the dumbest naming ever. They need to come up with better names.
They went all out on that one.
Yeah. Like, why isn't it Portland Region 1 and Portland Region 2? Why do we get stuck with 3 and 4? Where's Portland's 1 and 2? I don't know.
It's true. Where did they go?
Yeah, they don't exist. It's Albany 1, Albany 2, Portland 3, and Portland 4. I don't get it. I like my regions of, the men's tournament still has their regions where it's like the Midwest region, even though games are played in Spokane. I don't care. It makes me feel
That sounds right.
It's a comfort for me to know that Midwest region, South region, East, West, bingo. That's all I need. We could do that with the women's tournament too. Just make it simple for me.
I don't know
Big
why
dumb
they
brain.
continue to do weird things with nomenclature. Yet here we are.
Here we are again. All right, we are off and running on this Monday. It is the 25th of March. If that is of note to anybody out there, we got like 1 week left in the month of March.
That was quick.
Didn't it go by fast?
Yeah, it was quick.
March just kind of flew by.
We also have April Fool's falls on a Monday.
Yeah.
Feels weird.
Does it?
Yeah. Does
That's a
anybody
weird day for you?
does anybody do April Fools anymore?
No, I don't know of any. I remember I got the best April Fools that I got was like they a morning show did a Seahawks are moving to Portland, and I was like 12. That got me. I called my dad. It was like it's 7 a.m. He's like, "What are you talking about? They're not. Seahawks aren't moving to
Hey,
Portland."
if you do that now, I feel like you get fired.
They got me good on that one. But I think a lot of the April Fool's jokes have just run out, and we're all very aware.
We're out of
now.
being original.
We're all very aware now. The last big one that I remember getting people was pretty believable, and now it actually could be true. You remember, like, it was probably 15 years ago-ish. The April Fool's joke came out that Oregon was installing LED turf so they could change the color of their turf.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that? And like people actually
They thought that.
believed it.
Because it's not that far off.
Well, now we have LED basketball courts. It's really not that far off from being a reality that you have LED turf because everybody's like, this is something Oregon would do for sure. And it was totally believable. That's the last one that I remember like getting a lot of people. They couldn't slip that one past me.
It's the LED jerseys. That's what's coming next.
LED jerseys. You could just change at halftime.
Yeah. Plug in.
All right. Madness continued through the weekend, but here we are with the Sweet 16 that deserves a my bad. Next on The Fan.
Here comes the madness.
NCAA tournament. And after a lot of criticism, dare we say the committee got it right? Their top 8 seeds of the tournament are all still dancing in the Sweet 16. No real, truly like earth-shattering upsets outside of Kentucky falling to Oakland.
Well,
Outside of that,
Yale Auburn's a pretty wild upset.
Yale Auburn was one, but that were people griping about that seeding for Auburn, maybe saying
Yeah.
they should have been a 3 seed.
Yeah.
But they lost.
Again,
They lost to a 13.
does ends justify the means here?
But look, if you're losing to a 13 seed, you probably shouldn't be bitching about being a 3.
I am, because if they'd been seated better, they would have been more. No, they wouldn't have been more locked in.
Well, okay, you know what? They could have been a 3 seed and played Oakland and had White Lightnings
Yes,
bury
go off
them.
against them.
Instead of burying Kentucky, they would have buried Auburn.
Might have saved Cal's job.
That's crazy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, as we look at it, this is one of the more chalky Sweet 16s that we have had.
But there have been great games.
There've been
Like even in non-upsets, there have been great games.
That's where the committee, I think, really nailed it. We've had drama really throughout every single matchup, with the exception, like UConn is just doing what we thought UConn would do. They are just road grading teams right now.
Yeah.
Your 1 seeds are performing like the 1 seed should. Last night, that Houston game, that got a little squirrely at the end.
It did.
But they were up on Texas A&M. They were up by 12, and then all of a sudden, everybody started fouling out. You had 6 guys foul out of the A&M Houston game.
One thing that I don't think has been discussed enough is, boy, do college refs suck.
Yeah, they do.
They're really bad.
They're not great, and this is why everybody
Yeesh.
complains about NBA officials. Could be worse.
I mean, the thing
Could
is,
be worse.
a lot of college refs, they're part timers. So you get these guys like in the NBA, you know, during the season, this is what they do. A lot of them are lawyers, and then they, you know, travel for the season, kind of a deal. But there have been, the way that Purdue game was officiated early on, the ticky-tack fouls.
Okay,
I was like, come
here's
on,
the thing
man.
with Purdue. How do you officiate
Zach
a
Edey.
Zach Edey game? Because it's damn near impossible to do.
It's much like Shaq, where, look, it's not in Jokic, to go more contemporary. Those guys get hit more frequently and harder than other people. That is the reality.
And I really do think the beginning of the Utah State game, where you were saying it was very ticky-tack,
Yep.
I think that was more of a product of what happened in the Grambling State game 2 days before. Because did you see that foul that I don't remember what Grambling player it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's assault, brother,
Yes.
on Edey. Like
I will say, Holy Cross had the bigger assault play this weekend
on Caitlin Clark.
Yes, the
elbow,
the left elbow
that was a forearm shiver.
That somebody on Twitter, Andrew Perloff, said was non-intentional.
No, that was a forearm shiver. Larry Zonka would be very proud of the forearm
I've
shiver.
seen
that was
MMA
given.
fighters with less accurate elbows.
Yeah, that was
Just
a shot to Caitlin Clark right in the jaw, and she did not flop on that one.
no.
That
honestly,
was a legit one.
I'm surprised she didn't pick up a pretty serious injury. To be honest, like, though that was head trauma. That's what that was.
They rocked her solid.
Flagrant fouls don't exist in women's basketball.
They don't?
They don't exist.
I'll be damned.
I was like, I'm sorry, what?
I think we need to change that rule.
Yeah, that might be the rule change.
I mean, for equality purposes, a flagrant foul can be done in women's sports
I
too.
was just like, I'm sorry, what?
But I think that back to your point of the ticky-tack nature of the Utah State, I think that was a product of Grambling State, how they were just hacking away at Edey.
They knew the assignment was.
And you can't allow that to continue, right? Like, you can't just sit there and be like, that's the way that you're going to operate when Zach Edey's on the floor. But it is nice to see Purdue is on that Virginia path where you get upset by a 16 seed and you come back and you look really damn good in the first 2 games of the tournament that they've played in the following year. They got Gonzaga coming up next. And if you want to talk about a game that's going to get into the weeds when you're talking some hard fouls, Gonzaga Purdue, that game is going to be a throwback type game in the Sweet 16.
No, there's going to be a lot of basketball on the interior.
We have in this tournament the chalky nature of it. The average seed of the Sweet 16, 3.3.
Pretty low.
So a lot of ones and twos. If you look at it, the only team that's a double-digit seed that did advance is the team that's playing hottest basketball in the country. Went through the ACC tournament and rolled right through. It's our big fella, DJ Burns.
Indeed.
In North Carolina State, man.
Studied Olajuwon, looks like Zach Randolph. Love it. It's just one of the greatest lines ever.
Yeah, and they got, I mean, in all honesty, luck of the draw, too. You get Oakland coming
on the
out
upset of Kentucky.
Upset of Kentucky.
That's
and
how
then
you
can
make a
move through.
deep run, is that the bracket lines up your way.
Yeah, other than that, you got a lot of ones and twos. The next highest seed that you'll see is Clemson, which upset Baylor as a 6 seed. Other than that, you have 1, 2s, 3s, and then Gonzaga sitting there as a 5 seed after they beat the brakes off of Kansas. Who didn't see that one coming with Kansas and the way they struggled with Sanford?
Yeah, I mean, not only that, Kansas was limping in with Dickinson hurt, McCullers out, and Bill Self himself saying he was looking towards next year already.
And those boys, that region of death, that East region, think of this. Rematch of the national championship game is in the Sweet 16. 1 seed UConn, 5 seed San Diego State. The 2 and 3 seeds are still standing, Iowa State and Illinois. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the Elite Eight, UConn, Iowa State, that's going to be a hell of a basketball game. I'm pumped for that game.
Illinois might win that. Those two guards are awesome.
Guard heavy, baby.
And they play great booty ball.
Excuse me?
I forget the guy's name, but basically it's what Jay Wright used to do in Villanova with Jalen Brunson. He'd have Jalen Brunson back down, basically go in and post up with the ball, and then let himself kicked out. He'd play booty ball.
Booty ball.
He'd use his
Big
booty
guard play.
to get down into the paint.
Jalen Brunson does have junk in the trunk. And there's a
He must work
surprising.
out.
It was like the Jay Wright Jello mold of guards that he would just pump out of there. They were all
Kyle Lowry.
thick.
Kyle
in the
Lowry
trunk.
is the thickest guard in NBA history.
Yeah, you had Lowry, Brunson. Look, even Josh Hart.
Josh Hart's got a little junk back there.
We saw that up close and personal here in Portland.
Big
man.
butts matter, man. I finished and published my my draft profile on Zach Rizachet, and I'll give the little free tidbit here. I did mention junk in the trunk and how. Did you ever see Jesus and Mero when they had the pyramid game?
No.
They had to come up with a name for he was running through it for Taylor Swift, and he said, "The woman with the very long back." Of which the Taylor Swift hive got the Swifties got angry. But
I'm not even hey, I didn't laugh at that joke. I was
Yeah.
laughing at something else,
Yeah.
all you Swifties out there. I don't want to feel your wrath.
But I compared Zachary Rizachet to having a very long back.
Okay, do we have an apology from Danny to the ACC?
No.
When the brackets came out,
No.
you said the ACC wasn't good and they were overrated.
They are.
A quarter of the Sweet 16 is
don't
from
care.
the ACC.
They're not good. They're not good.
Well, they've got currently still standing in the tournament. The ACC has Duke. You have NC State, North Carolina, and Clemson. All still standing.
I
ACC
think
teams.
North Carolina's overseeded, but we'll see how they do with Oates in Alabama.
Dude, Nate Oates in Alabama
It's fun.
They're
It's
looking
a fun
like
game.
a wagon right now, and a lot of these teams are, and that's if you have. Well, they don't have them this week. They got Arizona first, and then they play because Nate Oates and Alabama have North Carolina.
As I said.
Oh, I thought you said Clemson.
No.
Oh, you
North
one
Carolina.
seed North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a hell of a game.
Clemson Arizona is a matchup between who can fail hardest.
Yeah. Pac-12 turned to pumpkins on Saturday and Sunday, but we had some great like Washington State. We knew that their demise was coming. When you're taking on Iowa State, and they put up a great fight until Iowa State pulled away at the end.
On.
And that's
what they do.
The Cyclones do, man. You had Colorado
Right there.
taking their season to the brink and dang near pulled it off. And then the Oregon Ducks, and let's get into the Oregon Ducks as they fall to Creighton. It came down to the most obvious factor of all, something that we talked about on Friday's show. This is Danny and Dusty. Here's Will with SportsCenter. far, if not the game of the tournament, a double overtime thriller where Creighton pulled away in that second overtime in Pittsburgh, but the fight of Oregon, my goodness, we saw them kind of riding this hot hand throughout the Pac-12 tournament. They get in, and the only way that they get in is because they won the final Pac-12 conference tournament. They end up knocking off South Carolina in convincing fashion behind 40 points from Jermaine Couisnard in that opening round. And then they were taking on the 3 seed, and you had this feeling, oh my God, are they going to do this again? Where you look at the way that game played out, you have another 32 points from Jermaine Couisnard. You get 28 points and 20 rebounds from N'Faly Dante. And what ended up hurting the Ducks was, quite honestly, the most obvious thing, because we talked about it on Friday. In that second half, you only got, until overtime, 2 points?
Yeah.
From anybody not named Dante or
yeah.
Couisnard.
And that's really the Ducks' problem coming into this tournament was lack of offensive efficiency, lack of scoring punch, the lack of ability to knock down threes. In round 1, you get Couisnard goes bonkers, gets the 40-piece on a wildly efficient night. Couisnard and Dante, throughout the game against Creighton, you could see their legs go. They just ran it again. I mean, Couisnard finished with more shots than points, and he finished with 32 points.
Yeah.
32 points on 33 shots. And look, it was a gutsy, valiant effort. But you could tell in the overtime he had just zero gas. And a big part of that was because late in the second half, Shelstad gets hurt. And all of a sudden, even more burden falls on him. The creation burden now falls. It's not just him getting shots up. There's nobody there even spacing to the corner. There's nobody else initiating the offense. There's no one else bringing the ball up. He can't take a break.
No. And that when you are up 4 with 30 seconds to play, and Jackson Shelstad's injury, it meant everything to this team because you're already down two guards, and then Shelstad gets hurt, and that is the guy that in that moment when you're up by 4 with 30 seconds to go, if Jackson Shelstad is on the floor, he's getting that inbound.
Yes.
And
it's not going to the 60% free throw shooting in N'Faly Dante.
No, it's going to the guy who I think at the line over the course of this season, he was a 86.4% free throw shooter on the season.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Shelstad is that guy that you get the ball into his hands at all costs. In what ended up happening was you ended up having to get the ball into N'Faly Dante. 60%, he misses, and that opens the door for Creighton to finish off Oregon. But that is also the story of Oregon's season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whether it was N'Faly Dante early in the year having to get knee surgery, missing 10 weeks, Nathan Biddle gets sick and is unable to play down the stretch of the season. You had Mookie Cook, who was a highly coveted player, a 5-star prospect. He gets injured and really never gets going with this Oregon team. There were guys in and out of that lineup all season long, and it was kind of the magic of their run was they were staying healthy, and Couisnard and Dante, they were thoroughbreds that you were riding to the end.
Yeah.
And those two guys, you felt for them, and you felt for the effort that they had put in, not just in the NCAA tournament, not just to get that team into overtime against Creighton, but the run prior to it, man. And in that second overtime, you saw there was that moment where Oregon was reeling, and I think there was like a minute and a half to go, and they were down by 6.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw Dana Altman going, hurry, hurry, hurry. And Couisnard was bringing the ball up the floor, and he kind of looked over like, dude,
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
And the last-ditch effort was to pull the trigger on that 3 from the logo.
Mm-hmm.
And if that falls, maybe you get that last little bump. But that was the last stand. Yeah. That was it
that
right
was the
there.
Alamo right there, yeah.
And give Greg McDermott, Creighton, all of the credit in the world because they
played through their own stupid. The Vancouver Ford text line. Ducks fans need to realize Creighton was missing a lot of wide open shots. Yes.
All game long.
If Creighton shoots their normal percentage, the Ducks get blown off the floor.
The defensive rotations were, it was rough to watch early in that game because how many wide open looks
for great shooters, whether it's Trey Alexander, whether it's Yeah, hell, Kalkbrenner even the big can actually step out there and stretch the floor.
Shireman,
Shireman. I mean, like
Ashworth. They got Creighton has got like they've got that tournament team.
Oh no
that
way!
You're just like I despise you. Like you got Shireman. He's got like the haircut. He's got no sideburns. He's got the reverse sideburns where they come up. He looks like he's going to go out to a nightclub right after the game with that dirty stash. Ashworth looks like the guy who is the and he plays like it too. Like the dad who shows up at the 24-hour and is just so fundamentally sound, and you're just like, who is this guy and where did he come from? He looks like my accountant. And he's going to be a hell of an accountant someday.
The 90% free throw shooter?
Yeah, that. He has that look.
Yeah.
And then like Kalkbrenner just coming out of nowhere blocking shots left and right. But it's just like
when you realize,
dude,
he is 7'1".
Yeah, he's a long levered human being.
He's a big dude.
That's a good basketball team.
No, they are. They're again, you've got a ton of Shireman's a 5th-year senior. Like it's loaded with the whites. I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's a lot of coaches' favorite in there early, leaving late, grinder types.
Yeah.
Up and down that roster. Oh, and they can all just shoot the piss out of the ball. Like, that's the thing, and you saw that happen in the second overtime. Not only did they have more legs, all of a sudden it was just dunk, 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 dunk. Shots are falling. You went, there it is.
In balance, too. I mean, balance is the key.
Up and down the roster.
You had 4 guys in double figures for Creighton, 2 for Oregon, and everybody knew where the ball was going. Everybody knew exactly what Oregon needed to do. And give Dante and Kusnard credit where everybody in the arena knew who could score.
Yeah.
And they were
Dante was 12 of 20. Like, he was still very efficient, even though you could tell he was frustrated with Kalkbrenner because Dante's used to kind of having his way physically with guys. Yeah. And even though Kalkbrenner's given up some weight, he's still so stinking long that Dante had to work really hard to get those hook shots up there.
Well, hearing N'Faly Dante after the game, this is why everybody is like, college basketball is not the same. When you get guys like an N'Faly Dante, you go, all right, college basketball still has it. And there's guys littered across this tournament still. Those 5th-year guys like you're talking about, like a Shireman, like an Ashworth, who, even though he has transferred, and he was a Utah State guy, he could have played for the great Danny Sprinkle.
There's a lot of guys that have come from like Utah State, Northern Colorado, and stuff like that. And you look around and like, man, these lesser programs have had some dudes lately.
But you hear N'Faly Dante and you go, this is why we love the tournament. We'll play his audio next. Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Thanks to George McCoy at
Dante, who played lights out throughout the entirety of the Pac-12 tournament and the opening 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, where if you look at just his production and efficiency that he played with, he went 12 of 20 from the field for 28 points, and that was considered a down performance for N'Faly Dante with the way that he had played in the Pac-12 tournament, because he'd shot 72, 71, 100%. NCAA tournament, 78% from the field, and then a ho-hum 60% from the field, carrying this team.
Scumbag.
He and Jermaine Couisnard scored all but 2 of Oregon's points in the second half. In fact, in a game that is 40 minutes long, the Ducks went, and this bleeds into overtime. The Oregon Ducks went 25 minutes without a point from somebody named Dante or Couisnard. They scored with 46 seconds left in the first half. Jackson Shelstead got a bucket, and him getting injured and being out for those final minutes of the second half
It was huge.
played a big role in this. But they did not get a point after 46 seconds to go in the first half until there were 37 seconds remaining in the first overtime period, when Tracy had that tip in off a missed shot, just by himself, tipping in, good. They went 25 minutes. Nobody else scoring except for those 2 guys.
Goodness.
It was like, that is,
It's a testament to,
It's incredible
how good they were, with everybody knowing what they were going to do and yet still finding a way to get it done.
it truly is. It's incredible that they were able to do that. And Dante, after the game, this is why we love sports. This is why we love college sports, and the era of the one and done, where a lot of the top seeds and the top teams in the tournament, they are built off of those one and done type guys. Don't tell that to UConn, though. Don't tell that to San Diego State. Actually, the teams that play for championships.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we still love college basketball.
I wish I could made that last free throw. That could be it again, but that's for me. There's a lot of things I could do to help my team, but I didn't.
Left aisle.
Matt Preem, 24/7 Sports, for both you guys. Just, I know the loss hurts. Can you just describe the emotions of this last couple weeks and the ride that this has been?
I don't know. I really don't know. We just didn't do everything we're supposed to do, to be honest. But I don't know what to even say. I mean, this one is just hurt. Oh, man, I think every single one on my team should deserve better than that. I think we should win this one, but it is what it is. But it's great. I'm gonna miss it, and it's just hurt, man.
All right. Thank you.
Think about that. Dude has shot about 70% from the field to get his team into the tournament, to win a game, and have this team on the brink. And all that he's thinking about is the one free throw. If he makes the front end of that 1-and-1, that's it.
In the month of March.
And that hurts.
In the month of March, Dante has averaged 21, 11, 2.5 steals, and 2 blocks on 79% shooting inside the arc.
That's crazy.
And for all the Duck fans out there who have come up to me over the last couple of days and throughout the tournament, is Dante going to be a lottery? No, he's not going to be a lottery pick. He's not going to be a first-round pick. He's probably not even going to be a second-round pick. He's going to be an undrafted guy who's going to get a chance to play in the NBA.
And injuries are a big
He
part
has
of his
major red flags.
Obviously he had a knee surgery this year. He's had ACLs in the past. Like, it is beyond whether he plays in the NBA or not. Dude solidified himself as a legend.
Oh, yeah.
And
And
think of this.
And he left it all out there, and he played his ass off.
He's a 60% free throw shooter.
Mhm.
He made 4 or 5 in that game.
Yeah, the one that he missed.
The one that he missed.
And the other part of this is that it gets overlooked, I think,
crazy.
a lot of times, is the 1-and-1. Because if it's 2 free throws and he gets 1 there, it changes the entire course of the game. But because it's a 1-and-1 and he misses the front end, it allows for more volatility in the situation.
And look, there's a lot of Oregon fans that are criticizing the officiating in that game. The officiating, as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, it hasn't been good throughout the course of the tournament. That's not why Oregon lost. I mean, the chokehold that was on Couisnard as he tried to come off that pick, I don't know how you missed that. as an official. But let's be honest here. What kept Oregon even in that game was Creighton's inability to connect on 3-point shots that were wide open, and their shooting percentage was off all night long.
Even on their twos.
It was a game where Oregon needed somebody besides Jermaine Couisnard and N'Faly Dante to put ball in hoop, and they couldn't do it. And look, them's the breaks. That's basketball. It was really tough for Creighton to do it too. That's not where that game was lost, was in the officiating. If in the Oregon fans that are complaining about officiating, I'm like, well, hey, if they were consistent with it and you get a free throw, I don't know, before the final 30 seconds of the basketball game, maybe it is a little bit different. And maybe they're in the double bonus at that point. I am more for let them play in the tournament than what we saw at the end of the Houston Texas A&M game where we had 6 guys foul out.
No, and this thing is, if you look at Creighton's free throws, it was 14-5, I believe, in the end. Is that what it was?
In mucking that game up,
yeah, it was 14-5, and a lot of those free throws came late as they were intentionally fouling Creighton. It wasn't this. I believe going into the overtime, it was 8-4.
There was only 8 free throws until that final 30 seconds of the game.
You didn't,
or 4 free throws until the final 30 seconds of the game.
You didn't have a ton of. It wasn't like Creighton was getting to the line endlessly. It was just they really let both teams play.
I think that also is what kept that game close too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
being physical with Creighton and keeping them off balance and
muddy it up.
Yeah, and that's how Oregon had been so successful. That and Cousin going bonkers.
It was a great run by Dana Altman, though. Dana Altman did it again. He got his team ready to play at the most important part of the season, and they fall short. But
the Beavs and Cougs thank them.
Yeah, they do.
They
do. Yeah, they do.
They're gonna get out of this like what, 20 million?
I think
that's what the number
they're
was.
getting close. Yeah, they're inching towards that.
Yeah.
And apparently we have a settlement between the 10 departing schools in the Pac-2 where, they're going to still distribute some to the 10 departing schools, but Oregon State, Washington State get a little bit more for this year. The 10 teams leaving have voting rights for things that affect right now, but not the future of the conference in money distribution. And Oregon State and Washington State, they can go and try to operate and hold the Pac-12 together in any way they see fit, or just collect the money over the next handful of years that they're getting. All right. Good run for the Ducks. Golf clap. Arizona's still riding for the Pac-12, though.
Quack, quack.
A lot of people don't have that faith in Arizona in the Pac-12.
My faith was the least founded in that team.
I have faith.
All right, there he is. All right, hey,
found the one.
Let's get to hour number 2. The way dynasties sustain. Next on The Fan.
So, how's your research going?
You're listening on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, or watching us on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. Thanks. Appreciate y'all. Had a lot of college basketball NCAA tournament in hour number 1. Hour number 2, let's start with a little bit in the NFL, because a trade that kind of slipped under the radar for a lot of folks. The Chiefs sustain their dynasty, and this is what great franchises will do. They trade L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best corners in the NFL, to the Tennessee Titans, and they get a third-round selection in return.
Yeah, this felt like both, hey, we'll trade you Sneed for what you have in your pockets, and also this is all you're going to get for him because you're trading for the option to pay him. It's not a guy under contract, or so it kind of split the difference. This is, I think that you had the Jamal Adams trade to Seattle where they vastly overpaid for a non-priority position at safety. Whereas I think if you're going to overpay or overextend yourself, doing so for the best corner or second best, third best at worst corner in football, is probably okay. And even then, because they're looking at the option to pay him and they're not paying anybody else on the roster other than 2 wide receivers, really, they said, screw it, why not? Now, I'm beginning to understand why Mike Vrabel might have been just throwing his hands up in the air, because what the hell are the Titans doing? I don't know. They don't really make a ton of sense with what they're doing right now. But I guess if you can go get that kind of guy for that cheap, quote unquote, it's a good move for the Titans.
I mean, they're upgrading in a division that, I mean, you can compete in.
Sure.
Especially if Will Levis is healthy, and now you have Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, aging DeAndre Hopkins. But they went out and they got Awuzie, the corner from Cincinnati. So now you have bookend corners. You're going to upgrade there. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in Tennessee, but you go out and you get one of the best at his position, and you're giving up a third-round pick. Here's where you go, Tennessee, are you going to draft anybody with that third pick that is as good as L'Jarius Sneed, one of the best corners in the league?
And the answer is no.
No. But then you go from the Kansas City perspective, and this is the crazy part about the way that we've seen the trade market suppressed, and it kind of started with that Mac Jones trade. You don't have teams, and sometimes we have wild trades in the offseason where you're like, whoa, they got a lot for nothing out of that. We've seen a very suppressed trade market across the board in the NFL. L'Jarius Sneed, also a guy who needs to get paid, and you're gonna have to pony up for him. Of course, a third-round pick, but for Kansas City, you're going, we get another third. We have been knocking it out of the park time and time again with fit in our draft selections.
And we need to save money.
We have to save money. We have to get cheaper on that end. We've got guys on rookie deals, but guys like Trent McDuffie who've been playing really damn good football for you. You have to get creative. And like any great dynasty across any sport, they do this, where they'll trade a guy that they can't afford in the moment, but they know that they have faith in their process. And when you aren't drafting for a need particularly, those draft picks come a lot easier to you, and you can roll the dice a little bit more. You have a coach, you have a leadership that top to bottom, especially with the keeping of Chris Jones on the defensive side of the ball. Patrick Mahomes is going nowhere offensively. You have leadership within the players. You have leadership within the head coach that everybody trusts and is full-throated with in support of Andy Reid. And then Brett Veach, you just say, we trust you. You have carte blanche with whatever you want to do in the draft, that it's going to be the right fit, because there's no reason that you look the other way. It falls apart pretty quickly, though, when you have to start drafting for need. Look at Bill Belichick was the wizard in the draft.
Yes.
How is he getting these guys that are becoming, Pro Bowlers, and you're buried in the first round, or you're getting second, third, fourth round values? It's a hell of a lot easier when your leadership structure is in place and you have star players on both sides of the ball that keep everybody in order.
And that's a big part of this. And let's say the Chiefs have been very good in their scouting and in their development, in which they have. So now you add another draft pick to your pool. Maybe at the end of the first round, there's somebody you really like. And instead of picking 32, you're picking 26.
You could jump over a couple of teams.
Go
Tasty.
get something. Those are the kind of opportunities that you get when you get this, because it was a third and was it a conditional fifth?
I think so.
I think that's what it was. So again, more capital. So you get these opportunities to go, hey, we even if we're not going to use this to go draft a guy at this spot, we can use it to either move up or use in another deal. I just think there's ways to go about this that, unfortunately for everybody else not named the Chiefs, they continue to find, because the reality is that they could get absolutely nothing for him.
Yeah. And this is how you continue your greatness. Like, if L'Jarius Sneed isn't as dominant in Tennessee, how many times have we seen this where a guy leaves and then all of a sudden doesn't work out? He comes back and he becomes a great player again for you.
You go and get paid, otherwise known as the
Deion Branch
or the Jackson cornerback.
J.C. Jackson?
J.C. Jackson. They said the Chargers.
Yeah, it turned out he didn't even work when he came back either, though.
Yeah, but he was cheap. The Chargers were paying him to play for the Patriots.
Very, very, very true.
So you
But
build those relationships.
I get where Tennessee's going with this too, though, because if you had to go up against C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, and Anthony Richardson twice a year, probably gonna need some corners. You're gonna need some corner help there
for sure. And if you
look
look
at corner help,
their payroll is built around, here's their highest paid players: outside linebacker, defensive tackle, cornerback, then both wide receivers, Hopkins and Ridley, then strong safety, corner, center, linebacker.
got to get better.
And in there, you're going to slide in your number one. He's going to probably be number 3. Oh, no, Snead's already on there. They have him listed as 19.8. So, most of their team is slotted in is defense, with the exceptional, hey, let's protect our guy with our quarterback with a center and a tackle and give him a couple weapons in Hopkins and Ridley. Otherwise, it's all defense.
Also coming out of the NFL today, a little bit more newsy. John Lynch told Matt Mayoko of NBC Sports Bay Area that they are having ongoing conversations with Brandon Ayuk, who we saw how messy that was at the end of the season between Ayuk and the 49ers, the wide receivers on the 5th year of his deal. And Lynch told Mayoko that they are having ongoing conversations. None of them have revolved around a trade. And Brandon Ayuk, we remember, what was it, his best friend, or was it his brother?
I think his brother.
His brother and
was tweeting at going to be a Raider or something.
Yeah,
and that was right at the end of the season. Like, I mean, the dust hadn't even settled after the Super Bowl, and that had come out,
which makes you believe that John Lynch is full of crap. Trade discussions have taken place.
Well, I don't know if they've taken place or not, but Brandon Ayuk did tweet in emojis. I speak emoji this time of the year. $, talking sign, cow, poop emoji, and then a walking emoji. So money talks, BS walks. That was what Brandon Ayuk had tweeted out. Here's something that Brandon Ayuk has to really understand, though. There are a bunch of receivers that are far better than Brandon Ayuk that need to be slotted in before he gets paid. I wouldn't be shocked one bit if the Niners are trying to get a deal done and Brandon Ayuk's representatives are pulling this thing back, because think of the receivers that are up for their negotiations at this time, because he was a first-round wide receiver. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb. Those guys, Justin Jefferson for sure is going to reset the receiver market, which means Tyreek Hill's $30 million. Justin Jefferson could be getting more than $30 million a year. So the representatives for Brandon Ayuk, they're in no rush to get a new deal done, because why would they when the market's going to change and the valuation of your slotted lot in life as a receiver is going to go up as those guys in front of you get paid more? If you're the 49ers, you're wanting to get this deal done now because the market hasn't really been reset yet. And Brandon Ayuk has to understand, you're not even the 4th best receiver in your own draft class, for God's sakes. So the priority to get you signed before everybody else is on the Niners, it doesn't behoove you, because you'll get more when CD, who is the 3rd best receiver in that class, finally gets his money from Dallas.
I will say, I think the 49ers should definitely entertain trading him.
To the Raiders? Yeah, sure.
particularly, yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. You'd probably be all
Yeah,
for that.
I'm all for that, particularly if it's for like a, I don't know, a L'Jarius Sneed type package.
Well, I don't know if you really and truly want that, because when you game plan for the 49ers, how many guys do you check off the box before you get to Brandon Ayuk? Christian
3.
McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, George Kittle. He's the 4th best option on that team.
Sure. He's second with the Raiders.
Okay, you're going to want to he wants to get paid
Just saying.
like number 1 or number 2. Or actually, he wants to get paid like a number 1. We know that from his social media.
We'll see.
But the 4th best option isn't going to be as wide open in Las Vegas as he is in San Francisco.
He'd be better than insert what Raiders wide receiver here.
He does have some value though, because he can play inside and outside.
He sure can.
And with the way that offenses are going, trying to get bubble screens, smoke screens, tunnel screens, that's all part of his game. So he'll have a little bit more value, but yeah, when
He's
you
not
are
a number 1 though. He's
no,
not a
he's
number 1 like
he's
that.
a 2. It's a very similar but a slightly better version of Rashid Rice.
And here's the problem. Like, people get so being a number 2 is really damn good. I mean, you are a really good receiver. But he'd be second fiddle to Devontae Adams.
Which is a great spot for him.
It is.
He would eat
It
in
is.
that spot.
It is.
And if you can get Mayer a few more targets, get him a bit more involved.
Sure.
Then you're cooking with maybe not
Look at-
gas.
Danny's already convincing himself they're going to be good.
With
He's already
AOC
trying to-
toting the
he's
rock?
trying to convince himself.
Look, I talked to
They're
a bunch
gonna be
of
good
the Raiders
again.
beat reporters over the weekend, and they all have me convinced that they're taking Penix.
Okay.
So, I have resolved myself to that.
Husky fans are just going, oh God.
But it does sound like they may be trading back for him.
All right. Well, trading back is
That's
right
the way to
move
go.
there. That's the right move.
If they can get 2 firsts out of that spot, do it.
Good thing your
Two-
O-line is solid.
you 2 first for what are they 13?
13. Yeah. If they can get like what is it?
You're getting the Minnesota picks? Is
Yeah.
that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
You're-
If they can do that, and then Minnesota moves up a little bit further.
But isn't Minnesota already ahead of them? Minnesota's at
Oh, you're right.
11.
They're
one
11.
of the picks is
Yeah.
ahead.
Minnesota's at 11 and at 23. So you'd move all the way down to 23rd and hope he's there.
I think he's there. This still.
Oof. All right. I hope he's there for you. I hope, because watching Delusional Danny take over because the Raiders have Michael Penix, it'll be fun.
It will be fun
It'll be fun for all of us.
because it'll get weird real quick.
All right. Let's talk about something that is truly delusional. Do they have the weight to make this work? Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
It's twice
Deion Sanders and company. And Deion has made a couple comments over the last week that has people scratching their heads. He defended his philosophy of not recruiting on campus or off campus, which I still don't understand. This is why you only signed 7 high school prospects. I don't care if one of them was really good, and they did get the number 1 offensive lineman.
Helpful.
Your lifeblood is recruiting the high school ranks, not just the transfer portal. And we'll see how that works out for Deion. I hope he does have success at Colorado. I do, but there are a lot of questionable decisions, whether it was firing your offensive coordinator last year when your defense was god-awful, and there's no offensive coordinator that could help your offensive line and how bad it was, to what he said about Shedeur and Travis Hunter, his son, the quarterback, and their top player. This is via Barstool Sports on Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter in the draft.
Where do you predict Shedeur and Travis going in the draft?
Top 4.
Ooh, that's pretty beautiful.
Anywhere from 1 through 4. One of them is going to be 1.
That's what I'm talking about.
One of them is going to be
Speak it
1.
into existence.
And the latter one would not go behind 4. Now, all this is subjective because I know where I want them to go. And let's not forget Shallow, okay? But I know where I want them to go. So there's certain cities that ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be
Okay,
a
you
Peyton
on
Manning.
point.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an Eli.
He's saying that with Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, he's going to pull an Eli in their draft position, yet they're still going to go top 4.
You know what I'm picking up here? Strong LeVar Ball energy.
Yeah, there is. That I love that we do have more player empowerment. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I do not think that Travis Hunter, at a position where we just saw one of the top corners in the NFL get traded for a 3rd-round pick.
For a used ball rack.
And look, you can say he plays receiver and DB. He's will
not
not
doing it in the
be in
NFL.
the NFL.
No. He might be a returner, as the return game might be coming back.
Sure,
But
but that's not you flex your weight and say, I
yeah.
will only play here
No.
in only here. And then Shedeur Sanders is a very good quarterback. And
He's not
we
generational.
see he is not a generational quarterback. He is not a guy that can sit there and flex and say, I will only play here and only here. I do appreciate when guys like Caleb Williams was trying this, where he was like, there were the reports and the rumors, only play in X, Y, and Z, and he doesn't want to go into Chicago.
doesn't want to go to Chicago, doesn't want to go to Arizona. Let's put it
I
this
do
way.
not believe, one, that those two guys, their talent is transcendent enough to say that.
Yes.
I also believe that the NFL is a league where they sit there and they hear all of the rumblings around Caleb Williams. They do not want that to be the way that their draft plays out. The league is going to make sure that that isn't the case. And here's the thing. If they get drafted, are they just not going to play?
It'd be interesting to see who blinks first. Here's the thing about just having the leverage about where you want to go. We all agree Caleb Williams, high level prospect, below Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck in the sense of prospects, but still very high level. And even then, we kind of squint at, you're going to force where you're going to go. Okay, I get it. Like you can at least see it.
NFL isn't playing that game.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like you can at least see it. Like he's good enough to where you could, okay, maybe. Shedeur is nowhere near that.
Nowhere
like not even in the same stratosphere.
Like,
so to think that you could start doing that with this, the other side of this is, whether it's Shedeur or Hunter, the part of me that wants that if you're the NFL, you're on the other side of this. We're not going to allow this. They'll collude. We've seen that before, Lamar. But the thing I would like to see of this is, why are players saying they don't want to go to particular organizations?
Because there's a reason why they're drafting in the top 4, because they're not very good.
But
like that is the part of
not good though.
It's dysfunctional ownership.
Yes.
But that is, look, that's why they're drafting in the top 4.
But that's my point. Is
you don't.
cyclical. Everybody gets there eventually. That's the way the NFL churn is going to go. It's not about not wanting to go to a bad team. I don't think it's about not wanting to go to a bad organization. If this is me probably being far too optimistic, because if I were the NFL, the issue here they're probably looking at is, oh, these kids are arrogant. And they think this, then they can control this. Let's show them how much power we actually have. Where in reality, the reaction should be, why aren't these kids wanting to go to these teams?
I think what the NFL is looking at, how they're looking at it, is not the kids being that arrogant. Of they don't want their cash cow, which is the NFL draft. That is how you get talent, develop talent, to go away or be mitigated in any sense. Because that's what happens when you say, I'm not going to play there and I will not go there. The thing with Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, look, that followed them for a very long time. And they did not want to be part of the Manning family, had wanted nothing to do with the Spanos family. It turns out they haven't won much, but at the same time, it was Eli Manning he was a higher coveted more coveted prospect than a Shedeur Sanders is.
Easily.
And Eli Manning ended up going and winning 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants and had a great career. And Eli loves, he said, I love Dion, as the quote tweet to that piece of audio. This is good. What teams are those? I can tell you it's probably the Commanders, who's drafting a quarterback this year. Probably the Patriots are up there because they are not in a direction that is heading in the right way. What other franchises is Dion probably talking about?
I would say Arizona.
Probably the Arizona Cardinals in there.
Chicago, if they weren't going to draft Caleb Williams this year. But doesn't this more feel like a grift from Dion, where he can say something like when they don't go top 4, he'll just say, well, I didn't want those guys to go to that school. Isn't that ultimately what this is? It's, I'm going to make an outlandish claim that has this weird little caveat in it in the bottom.
Nobody's going to believe it.
And then when it happens to go the opposite way, I'll just say, well, look, I said this wouldn't happen, or I said we wouldn't go to these teams.
I'd like to believe that, but there's also the thing that we talked about at the beginning of this, which is he won't even leave Colorado to go and recruit. Because he says that, I think in his explanation it was, kids don't want me in their homes. Yeah, they do. It's actually a really big moment for a coach to go to the home of the
player.
Talk
to mom and dad and
see where they come from. And Dion said, like, I know where they come from. I didn't want Bobby Bowden coming to my house. It actually goes a long way, and you're going to lose recruiting battles because
so
a lot
Nike
of coaches
landed Michael Jordan.
Don't go to the house.
Like, once you get to that point,
it's a really big thing.
That's a big deal. Like that's
this is a big year for Colorado because
whether or not
the
they
shine
move forward with
does
that.
come off.
Oh yeah,
if he goes 4-8 again, but they are moving to the Big 12, which there will be more winnable games, but. The wheels fell off when they got hammered by Oregon.
Post-Oregon.
And then all of a sudden you started to see that team was playing like every man for himself. And they brought in a bunch of hired guns and they played like it at the end of that year. I mean, they started 3-0 and won 1 game.
The rest of the way. They still did better than we thought they would.
Did you see their spring ball clip they released today or 2 days ago? It was on Twitter, but basically it's supposed to be this whole, like, look at how great of a throw Shedeur Sanders had to Travis Hunter, and he threw it into single coverage, and Hunter went up and won the 50-50 ball. What they don't show is that Shedeur was sacked from the backside because it was a 6-man. It was a 6-man rush, and you had 5-man protection. So to me, it doesn't seem like they're learning from the mistakes of the past. It's let's just get a bunch
back towards the middle of the field,
right?
And it was not the best of throws. But again, Shedeur Sanders from a clean pocket is really good. But he didn't have a clean pocket a lot,
and that's
And is he going to have a clean pocket this year, or has he learned from the mistakes of the past? Where if it is a 5-man protection and you have a 6 guy coming, where is your hot route? Are these things being taught to them? I just don't think it is, and so. Yeah, they might get 6 wins, but are they getting past that? No.
We'll see. I really do. I hope the Dion experiment works because it is different than what anybody else is doing in college football from a coaching standpoint. My whole thing is once Shedeur and Travis are gone, I think Dion's gone too.
I think it's going to go one of 2 ways. He leaves with them, or he's put down enough roots to where he looks around and goes,
That's why they got to win now.
yeah, exactly.
They have to win this year.
It's going to be interesting to see kind of how that where that fork in the road happens, if it does.
Sure.
If that makes sense. All right, coming up next, a worst day on the web. Well, it's a wedding that Dusty, it rivals yours.
Buddy, no, this does not rival mine. This is a grift upon all grifts.
It is the griftiest grift that's ever grifted. But first, here's Big Will with Sports Center Update.
with Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
All right, this is one of the most unhinged stories I've seen in a while. Dusty, you've regaled us many times with the nature of your wedding.
Yep.
And how
our DJ was a scam artist.
Yes.
It's documented.
So this goes multiple steps further, where a woman who, this is very important, is having her second wedding.
Yeah. Oh boy.
The gist of it is they scammed their guests into funding a month-long honeymoon to Italy.
Yeah.
So how did she do this? Well, it turns out she had what appears to be a very nice wedding with all the trimmings, DJ, open bar, nice facility, booze, all the coup de grace, right? Well, it turns out the venue was a gift from her uncle who owns a wedding venue in New England. Her catering was gifted to her by a friend who owns a restaurant. The flowers were gifted to her by a friend who's a florist. Their rings were purchased at cost by a friend who works for a jewelry company. Her DJ and photographer were gifts. Again, let's go through.
They did not have to pay for anything.
Anything. Well, I would imagine, without looking at this, the average cost of what you're talking about here is.
Oh, and by the way, you're not done here. The liquor was gifted by a friend who owns a liquor store.
Yes.
So they did not pay for booze, flowers,
food,
catering, venue, and DJ, photographer, and they also did not pay full price for their wedding rings.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
So you're probably looking anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 worth of gifts.
Yes. I'm starting to realize why she was married now twice.
The second time.
Wait till the third.
Yeah, wait till the third.
See what she gets away with.
The insane part about this is they got all that for free, and then they got and went and made their guests pay for the bar.
Yeah, it
that
was
they
not,
got for free.
It was not an open bar.
It was a cash-only bar.
And so what happened here is this couple who they like their free stuff. This comes from Reddit, where there was a "Am I the a-hole?" And the "Am I the a-hole?" is "Am I the a-hole for exposing my friend's reason for a cash bar at her wedding?" No, you're not. No, you're not. So this is what ended up happening here was the only thing that they had to pay for in this wedding was their honeymoon. And they wanted to go to Italy for a month. So they used nickel and diming all of the people that either got them all of the freebies in the first place, because all of those items that we listed there, all those people are presumably invited to the wedding, correct? I mean, if you're giving the flowers, the DJ, the liquor, the food, all that stuff, you're probably going to that wedding. They are nickel and diming them by charging for drinks, and then everybody else who brought a gift. Look, open bar, cocktail hour, that's like your bare minimum there of what you are ponying up. Open bar and cocktail hour, like before or after the ceremony, that's what you should be making sure that you're saying a big thank you as the bride and groom for coming to our wedding, coming to our special day. We're going to hook you up. We're at least going to get you a little boozy
That's
here.
honestly the most expensive thing at a wedding outside of the food. Like that's of the thing.
They charged.
Yes.
They charged because they wanted to go for free. And I am am I an a-hole for exposing this as a friend? No, you're not. No, you are not. If you are the friend of the bride and you're like, hey, by the way, everybody, all these drinks that we're paying for here, all free. All free. That is how you get
do the math again.
A mutiny at your wedding.
200 people were at this wedding. This was not a 20-person, 40-person, 60-person.
Paid for a month in Italy.
Do the math here. 200 people. Let's say half of them drank. Let's say half of that half, 50, were really drinking.
Yeah.
So you got 50 people dropping $100. That's $5,000 right there. And then you've got
I have a feeling that these are fancy schmancy folks too,
who bought the good stuff. And the insane thing about this, she paid the bartender $20 an hour plus tips.
I would like to thank my cousin Steven and
So
his lovely bride for not doing this to us.
So the bartender only got like, think of it, like I'm gonna take, I'm
150
gonna push
bucks,
this,
200
I'm gonna
bucks?
push this out. They got paid $80 for tendon
4
bar,
hours, yeah.
for your 4 hours,
And then you probably got 100 in tips. I'd imagine probably 100 in tips, maybe more. 4 hours, all you types. Let's say he gets 250,
Hey.
250, 300.
I'm telling you though, I kind of like I appreciate the hustle of the bride here, like doing
Right?
this, like,
No.
but. No,
it's
terrible person.
No, it's
You can-
scammy as
hey,
hell.
You
but
can appreciate the hustle,
Yes.
and
No.
they are still
scammy as hell.
a hustler. Hustlers by nature are shady folks. And
Scumbag.
these two are hustlers and scumbags. Both things can be true. You can appreciate, like, you're really going for this free wedding at all costs here on wedding number 2.
Not only that,
This is red flag palooza for the groom. But this is like
Great connections,
If
though.
I am a buddy of the groom, if I'm a groomsman, if I'm groomsman number 12, like Will Ortner was this
Right.
past weekend, if I'm groomsman number 12, you know your lot in life. Like, you're not groomsman number 1. As groomsman number 12, you are the person in number 1 and number 12 have got to be the two that go in there and they say, "Hey, buddy, run. I got a chopper. It's gassed up. We can get out of here before you walk down that aisle because this ain't gonna go well for you, pal."
I'm just blown away by how many connections she has. Good connections.
Yeah, when you have catering, venue, flowers, DJ,
Booze,
all paid
rings
for.
at cost.
Yeah,
Also wings at cost.
wings at cost would be fantastic.
I mean, wings at cost right now.
Now
Wings
we're talking.
are pricey.
Wings are getting up there.
Those BOGO deals aren't as good as they used to be.
So you get all of those things for free, including all of the alcohol, and then you charge your wedding guests at the bar.
They think that they made it roughly $20,000, which that sounds about right for a month in Italy because
They made 20 grand at
the bar.
At the bar that night. Dude, these people are
Scumbags.
I would not want to hang out with them. But then again, I think that maybe a lot of the people that are at this wedding
probably got boozed out of their mind.
But they probably see eye to eye with them. You know, they're like,
No.
yeah, I bet a lot of them do.
No, this is not a normal human thought.
It's-
This is a wedding
that's
where
the
there's
point.
like 3 groomsmen,
They run
3
in packs.
bridesmaids.
They run
No.
lunatics run in packs.
Yes, and I agree. But
isn't a lone wolf
This is
situation.
low down.
This is very low.
Bad.
This is very low.
These are evil people.
Yeah.
The
This
world
is-
doesn't deserve these people.
I
These are
feel-
people who don't pick up the tab at the bar.
Yeah. I think I've told this story on the air before. But I had a dear friend of mine who in college, I told him at the time, I will not go to your first wedding. I'll be at your second. I told him that.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go to his first wedding.
Do you went to a second?
I went to a second wedding. And I was there. And I was so happy that I was there for number 2. And I think number 2 is going to work.
Did you tell this preemptively because you knew who he was marrying and was like, no? Or
No,
just a general thought?
no. I didn't know who he was marrying at the time in college. It was you just have this gut feeling, right? Like you know that guy. I have a feeling a lot of people at this wedding, they left saying, "I'm not coming to number 3."
Yeah.
There will be a third. I'm not coming to number 3. You fooled me the first time.
Fooled me
Shame.
the second time.
Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. George W. Bush. Fool me a third time. Well,
you fooled me.
Shame.
Can't get fooled again.
That's where we're going on this one here. Wedding number 3. I can't wait for the Reddit thread
Again,
on that one.
I do respect the hustle in the sense of you generated enough money to stay in Italy for a month.
Yeah, I would be very upset at this. And another thing, what kind of job lets you go on a honeymoon for a month?
An honesty station.
Like, I have a feeling that these people, they live a life that we cannot connect to.
I mean, look at
I'm
the
assuming
connections that were donated to them.
a lot of the people that were there, they didn't really care. They're throwing money around, and they just used it as a fundraiser, and they knew
The tax write-off.
I'm so out on these.
I
Human
bet
beings.
you those gifts were probably pretty solid too.
These people are insufferable.
Considering think about that. I feel like a venue for a wedding in New England probably costs anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000.
If you are doing this, be upfront with your guests and say,
put a note.
"Hey,
you're funding our honeymoon.
Our wedding registry is just give us cash because we want to go. We're going to give you the open bar, but all we want is cash because we want to go on a month-long Italian honeymoon.
They needed swag.
Here's the situation.
They do
Yes.
need a situation breakdown,
Yeah.
for sure. These are terrible people.
But I bet I would imagine a large portion again of those 200 plus people also pretty terrible.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
I'm making that. I'm drawing that line.
That's true.
It is what it is. All right, coming up next.
Wow. And she's in her 40s, too.
Yeah, I mean,
This is an even scummier move.
is it
Golly.
though? You're starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
You know.
See you at the third wedding.
Speaking of understanding situations, Shohei Ohtani is going to sit down and talk here in a little bit. We didn't really get a chance to get to
Less
this
than an
much
hour.
over Thursday and Friday because of the NCAA tournament action, but we need to dive into this a little bit because it's a pretty hairy, weird story, and we'll dive into that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Hello, sports fans.
I would have rather heard what as I lay dying than what I heard last night. That was ridiculous.
That was very reminiscent of DeMar DeRozan's daughter.
Yes,
being courtside.
Oh, that's a good call.
That whistle was just that high pitched scream that went into the whistle register, just carried through the entire arena.
I'm in for Grand Canyon. I'm picking up what Grand Canyon's putting down. Their fan base. Have you seen their games? Their home games?
Oh yeah,
they're crazy.
No, they turn out, man. They created a basketball culture down there
at a for-profit university. They're not even hiding behind it. They're like, no, we're for profit. Yeah. We're just taking your money.
And they're taking their money and they're putting it into their basketball.
And Bryce Drew,
look,
let's go.
Being successful. Speaking of money, lots of money.
Yeah. Buddy.
So for those that may have missed this, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
You had somebody who was under investigation, who had a document that linked Shohei Ohtani to purported gambling debts upwards of $4.5 million.
A bookie.
Yes.
But not
the most salacious of bookies. We weren't going full, cloak and dagger here. It was a known bookie.
But this is the thing, is that Ohtani was not directly related to Matthew Boyer, the bookmaker.
No.
It was in Matthew Boyer, who is this bookie who's being investigated by the FBI. He has said that Shohei Ohtani never placed bets with him, and he does not know Shohei Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
This all is going back to the interpreter of Shohei Ohtani, who's been attached at his side since he came from Japan to
Ippei Mizuhara. Here's the thing, and this is where we definitely need a swag. Here's the situation here. There is a lot that goes into this because the original story, when it broke, stated that Mizuhara, after being fired by the Dodgers on Wednesday in the wake of inquiries surrounding at least $4.5 million in wire transfers from Ohtani's bank account to said bookmaker. Boy,
God dang.
Again, $4.5 million from Ohtani's bank account. The interesting thing about this to note is
that would link him to the bookmaker.
Yes. The interesting thing about this is, number one, it's wire transfer, which means it cannot be initiated by somebody other than Ohtani unless they are a legal signer on his bank account. You can't do that legally.
There we go.
The other part about this is Ohtani is spelled differently.
Oh.
On his, it's instead of OH, as in the public persona, OTANI, which is actually his family spelling. Side note, having worked with some money laundering teams around terrorism 20 years ago, that was a very normal thing to do, is to change the your naming nomenclature to try to hide tracks.
Okay.
Not saying that's what happened, but that's the first thing that I saw when I saw that. I went, oh, I've seen this before. So this all started with Ohtani's camp initially saying that Ohtani transferred the money to cover Mizuhara's debt. And they ended up giving Mizuhara to ESPN to clarify everything on Tuesday night.
So Ohtani's agent, his
legal team,
not his legal team, his agent and his publicist.
There you go.
They put Mizuhara and they connected him with ESPN, and they said, "You tell your side, whatever." Then they hired his legal team.
Yes,
and that's where the legal team was like, "No."
Yeah, the following day, Burke Bretler LLP, the law firm representing Ohtani in this manner, instead said the two-way star has been the victim of a massive theft. Mizuhara then recanted his entire story and told ESPN that Ohtani had no knowledge of his debt and that Ohtani had not transferred the money.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so in the span of 12 hours, you went from Ohtani knew everything about this and oversaw the transfer of $4.5 million to said bookie, which means he would be complicit in probably wire fraud, I would imagine.
That would be a big one.
And a substantial amount of money, to having no idea about the entire situation at all. Somebody's lying. So I'm assuming it's literally everyone.
We get in 45 minutes, Ohtani's going to speak to the media.
Yes.
And I am assuming that what we will get out of Ohtani is
he's going to read a prepared statement.
Big nothing burger.
Yes. And it's going to be written by his legal team.
No questions either.
Major League Baseball has opened an investigation on this whole saga, and they opened it on Friday after saying they weren't going to do anything.
Uh-huh.
Friday news dump. By the way, we're opening an investigation.
Oh, no, the biggest star in the game.
Ohtani is either the best, worst friend of all time,
Mhm.
or
He's Michael Jordan 2.0.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning towards the latter.
I have no idea what to think of any of this. Because I also, like, there is a part of me that I do want to believe that Ohtani and Mizuhara's relationship, think about this. When you come to the States, really the only person that you can communicate with every single day on a day-to-day.
Understands you, your culture.
Your interpreter becomes your best friend.
Yes.
And so, like, this guy was his best friend, his right-hand man. There's a part of me where I can say, as unbelievable as all this sounds, like, okay, put yourself in his shoes. Like, maybe you do bail out your buddy.
You have the ability to help your buddy out here, so you do.
And Mizuhara initially said he paid it off with the understanding I never bet on anything again. And then, like, he's
Which
just
always
like,
works out for gamblers.
I just signed a $700 million contract. I've got nothing left that I need to worry about. I know that I'm going to be a billionaire when this thing's all said and done. My career's done. $4.5 million for you to get out from underneath this. If you don't ever bet on sports again, that's why I'm doing this. There's a shred of me that is like, okay, I want to believe it. That shred goes pretty quickly. It is quite literally a shred.
Flip that story on its head and recant everything.
And I truly believe that has everything to do with the fact he doesn't want to get caught up in wire fraud, tax evasion, whatever it is, on a transfer of $4.5 million that on the surface you may think that that's a good idea. A very bad idea. Very, very, very bad idea. To just transfer $4.5 million and let this thing, just think it's going to go away forever and you're going to wipe your hands clean.
Yeah, it's all going to be very interesting. I tighten my tinfoil on this. I lean towards him being Jordan 2.0, and I lean towards MLB having an idea about what was already going on.
He has to play in the G League.
That doesn't exist anymore. The Ignite.
No, he just he'll have to go. He'll play for the Rip City Remix.
There you go.
That's going to be his punishment. Is he has got to go and play for the Remix like Jordan went and played for the Birmingham Barons.
It would be insane if because the precedent has already been set with Pete Rose.
Yeah.
If it turns out that he was betting on baseball, this will be the biggest gambling scandal ever.
Yeah. Would you hear the Astros owner of all people came out? Do you see what Jim Crane said?
No. Oh, please tell me, pot kettle. Come on, buddy.
This is the third worst scandal in baseball, behind only the Black Sox and the yet-to-be-uncovered Yankees letter. The city of Houston stands behind justice as another dark shadow has been placed over our sport. We must demand the facts. This can't be true.
That can't be. That has to
No,
be.
that's got to be satire. That's totally fake.
Okay.
If that were to, okay, good. Whew, God, it's not real. If that was real, that would be the chef's kiss on all of it.
Yes.
But it's not. Thank God.
Okay.
He never said that.
All right. Coming up next.
Abort.
Coming up next, the
Oh my
Portland
God.
Trailblazers made history last night. We'll dive into that and more. Come over on Danny and Dusty, 10 the Fan.
I'm Michael Jenkins helping you beat the book.
We're
So
hour
that's what
number 3.
happens.
Let's go.
Whether you're watching or whether you're listening on 1080 AM The Fan or watching on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan, we appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for all you do. And if you want to come out and join us, you can join us for Twice the Madness.
Let's go.
George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law and Coors Light presents Fan Madness Thursday from noon to 7 at X Golf Tualatin, and then Friday as well from noon to 7 at X Golf Vancouver. Both Dusty and I will be out there, as well as Isaac and Suk. Both crews will be at one location all day. So instead of being split apart, you'll have Dusty and I handing off to Isaac and Suk at Tualatin and then doing the same in Vancouver on Friday.
Yes! Let's go!
Fan Madness is presented by George McCoy at Warren Allen Attorneys at Law. Injuries and missing work ruining your day? Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com and he'll make them pay. And remember, presented by Coors Light as well. Don't let your bracket break you. Coors Light, celebrate responsibly. For more info, go to 1080thefan.com.
So here's the deal with the old Fan Madness there at X Golf. You come out, you get your rounds in, because action doesn't start Thursday till 4 is when the first tip
Indeed.
is. Ball goes up in L.A. I think it's L.A. At 4 o'clock. Clemson, Arizona is the first game. Get your rounds in. You could play Pebble, like we did for the Winter Fan Golf Classic. You can play. They have a bunch of like Korean courses that are really nice. You could play. I think is Spyglass in there? I think it is.
Yeah, no, Spyglass is 100% in there.
Dude, you could come play, get your group together, play the rounds, get ready for the action. We're going to be broadcasting live, handing off to Isaac and Suk, and then boom, stick around for the late madness, because
Thursday I'm sticking around because
West Coast
there's no Blazers game.
West Coast represented in day one too. Arizona leads things off, and then the second game is San Diego State playing UConn, which, watch out, UConn is out for blood, and they're going for the repeat. I did not think they'd be as emphatic as they are in these games. They are absolutely steamrolling right now.
Yes, they are.
10.5-point favorites over San Diego State. 10.5.
Can't even get to 54.5.
Yeah. Well, they didn't cover. South Carolina women did not cover in that game.
Was
52.
it Presbyterian?
Yeah, 52. Yeah. Bums.
Unbelievable. Well, Portland Trailblazers made some history.
That was a thing on Saturday night.
It was. For those that are unaware, the Portland Trailblazers started 5 rookies, and you're thinking, what are you talking about? We've done this before. No, they haven't. It's only happened once in the modern era since 1970-71 when the box score started becoming a thing and tracking starters in the NBA. The only other time it happened was April 12th of 2012 when the Golden State Warriors sucked incredibly hard for Harrison Barnes.
That's funny, but he was actually a really important piece for when they got really good.
Yes,
but
that was the point. It was that
them sucking for Harrison Barnes is one thing where you're like, going down the order there, 5th most important player on the championship, but he was a part
of the original death lineup. That's how it goes. But yeah, it hasn't happened. So you had Scoot Henderson, you had Chris Murray, you had Ryan Rupert making his first career start. Toumani Camara and Duop Reith. It was very funny. Mike Schmitz had just come back from a scouting trip.
28-year-old rookie Duop Reith.
Love it. Schmitz had just come back from a scouting trip in the NCAA tournament, and I was talking to him, and I was like, hey, how about Rupes starting? And he's like, wait, what? Because he had quite literally just landed about an hour before. I go, Rupes is starting. He goes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting spot to kind of land. That lets you know.
Matisse Thybulle with an ankle.
Yes.
You've got Ant with his knee continuing to be an issue, and he's going to be out again tonight. Are they going to go all rookies again tonight?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I think that'll be the way. And for everybody that's out there is like, oh, they're tanking. Ant's banged up. Jeremy's banged up. Jeremy's probably going to play on the road trip. I talked to him before they left. I asked him, road trip? And he goes, yeah, I'll be
back,
back.
hamstring.
Yeah,
he's been going through it.
But
and they're not trying to win.
No. And they're going to be very careful. This is not the great tendinopathy outbreak of last year. This is their veteran guys being beat up. That's what this is.
But the good news is, and to kind of counter that, is that they are ramping up Shaden Sharp again, though.
Yes. The official designation came out yesterday afternoon. Joe Cronin and the Trailblazers have to designate Shaden to the remix for insurance purposes and league transactional purposes. But he's staying behind while the team is on a 7-game, 15-day road trip. And this is kind of like the make or break whether or not he's going to play this season. He had not gone against live competition. And he's going to start with some 5-on-0 and going through stuff this week. And then if he progresses through the 5-on-0, they'll get him into some actual live stuff. And at that point in time, they'll make the decision whether or not he is going to start ramping up so he is ready for the final probably 4 or 5 games of the season, or if he's going to be done for the year.
If you have not been watching as it pertains to tonight's game against the Rockets have won 8 in a row.
They are 1 game behind the Warriors.
The Warriors do not play tonight. They can be a half game back of the Warriors, who have been cratering over the last week and a half.
Objectively bad.
The Warriors continue their road trip from Minnesota down to Miami, where they get the Heat and then the Magic before the Hornets and Spurs on an extended road trip. The Blazers, it behooves them not to win this basketball game, because then the Warriors inch closer to becoming a lottery team.
Remember, the Trailblazers own that Warriors draft pick.
There we go.
And if you take a look at the Trailblazers schedule, they play the Warriors twice. Excuse me, the Rockets twice.
They play the Rockets twice and the Warriors
once.
Yeah.
So they have the ability to, hand some wins.
Manipulate the lottery odds.
In the Nuggets locker room post-game the other night, there was some discussion about seeding and situations, and it was brought up to a Nuggets player that the Rockets, they were talking about the Rockets chasing, and the player was reminded that Portland plays the Rockets twice, and he goes, "Oh, that's 2 more wins for the Rockets."
Dang. Well, that's where we live now. But as it pertains to the Warriors, though, the Warriors do have they got a tough go of it, because the back end of their schedule, they have Dallas twice, the Lakers once, the Pelicans once in that final stretch, to where all of those teams are going to want to win games, even though it's in the final 2 weeks of the season.
They do have the teams that suck hard. They do have Charlotte, San Antonio, Utah, and Portland, and Utah twice in there.
Yep.
So they've got 6 games of they should win, but the Rockets have been playing so well, and the Warriors have been playing so poorly. And you have Dallas twice fighting for seeding, LA trying to make sure that they don't screw up, and New Orleans fighting for seeding. So they have very tough and they have very easy games. All it takes is one of those games to go a certain way, and the math is just going to end up being in Houston's favor.
Look, next week, the end of this week, we are all Charlotte Hornets fans.
We are.
Because if Charlotte can beat Golden State, and if they're limping, and they can beat Golden State, not only does that help the Blazers with the Warriors, it also helps the Blazers, because there's only 2 games separating Charlotte
and the Blazers play Charlotte on this road trip. There's a world that exists that Portland ends up with the 4th best odds. There's gonna be a suck off in Charlotte.
Yep.
Go ahead. Yep. Nice and clean. It's gonna happen, because that might be for all the marbles for who ends up 4th. It's a real thing.
The suck off for the marbles? Is that what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you just said.
Yeah. It's true. So it's even though that they're struggling, they're riding the old struggle bus.
Oh boy.
The Blazers currently, again, with 19 wins. The over was 28.5. They're not gonna get there.
With 11 to play, right?
Yes, 7-game road trip, then 3 at home, and then a 1-gamer to finish the season down in Sacramento.
All right.
So, all right, coming up next, some news and notes around college basketball, including what the hell is going on with Kim Mulkey and LSU.
A hit piece, obviously.
Danny Dustyton, the fan.
Thanks to
is already in full swing. There's plenty of news and notes and rumors around Kentucky's Calipari maybe being dismissed today. We'll
That'd be
see
$33 million.
We'll see how that offset language ends up working. But there has been a couple hirings that shouldn't surprise anyone. Washington State's Kyle Smith, the Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and should be a finalist, if not a winner, of the National Coach of the Year for being picked 10th in the run that they made with Washington State this year. He is moving down to Stanford.
It's a great move for Stanford. You
Yep.
get a coach that understands how to win at places that are very difficult to win at, whether it was at University of San Francisco or Washington State. Kyle Smith has a formula that is of the unconventional nature, and he gets guys to stick around, which is what you need out of Stanford. And he's not going to bring in the most highly coveted recruits, but he brings in all the pieces that make it work, and he's a damn fine coach.
Grab a Lopez or a Jacobson every now and then and be relevant.
And they need a coach like that as they're heading into the ACC. So I love that hire for Stanford, and it sucks for the Cougs.
It
but
does.
This is
That's
the
the nature
world
of the
they
beast.
live in
Yeah.
now.
On the other side of the state, at University of Washington, they're going to hire Utah State's Danny Sprinkle.
A guy from Pullman, born in Pullman.
Full circle.
Going across the state, and he's going to take over UW. Now, this is interesting on quite a few fronts. The first being the associate athletic director is one that made this move, because remember, we talked about Troy Dannon, the athletic
Yes.
director, leaving to go and take the same post at Nebraska just 5 months after accepting the University of Washington job. Now, the wheels had been put in motion to go down and get Danny Sprinkle even before Mike Hopkins was fired at the Pac-12 tournament. This
Because
has been
Utah State has been a very good team.
It's a couple weeks in the making. They had Sprinkle as their target and the guy that they wanted to bring in. It's interesting, though, that you make this move with not knowing who your next athletic director is going to be,
Right.
because the two most important hires are your football coach and your men's basketball coach. And this was a void that was left open with Hopkins being gone. Dannon, you need to make sure you fill that role, though, in a timely fashion, because it's 365 days of recruiting now. Dude, the hell with dead periods and what those mean. You have to have stability at that job. Sprinkle's a very good coach. We saw what he did in 1 year at Utah State in turning over that roster and bringing in a bunch of guys that had never played together, and they were damn good. Utah State was good this
28-6.
year. But the fear is going to be, can you hang on to him, and how long can you? He was at 4 years at Montana State, built a winner, jumps 1 year at Utah State, and then he's gone. The state of Washington is home for him.
And he's climbing a ladder. And whether or not Washington's basketball team has been great, it's still a program that is an upper tier program going to the Big Ten.
It is but that Big Ten road is a long road.
Very tough.
And then what is the fit with the new athletic director? Whether you want to believe it or not, it makes a hell of a difference.
Yes, I
It-
mean,
having your guy in place.
Absolutely. And in that vein, whether it's the athletic director to the coach or the coach to the athletic director, because there's going to be people calling for somebody. You have coaches that are wildly successful across the board, football, baseball, basketball. There's some booster somewhere who doesn't like him and wants him gone.
Yeah.
That happens. So having the backing of your AD and being in lockstep with how you're going to do NIL, how recruiting is going to working, how the inner workings of everything, that's how you're successful. And being hired by the associate AD is, I don't recall that happening all too often.
No, but you got, in Danny Sprinkle, you got a guy from Washington, understands Washington, University of Washington too. There's family connection somewhere down the line there, even though he's born in Pullman. It's a good hire.
It's
good hire for UW.
Sprinkles are for winners.
Sprinkles are for winners. And as this text on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326 says, if the Pac-12 didn't break up, we could have had Sprinkle versus Tinkle next year. I hope we have Sprinkle versus Tinkle next year.
Sprinkle or Tinkle?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like an ad read for...
Boy, that sounds like
Have-
something
if
that
you-
you
if you
don't
have a-
want to
if
search
you-
on the internet.
If you have a going problem.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. But I think that all things in a tumultuous turnover with Dannon leaving, you got a really good hire as your men's basketball coach up at UW. So, and you're going in the Big Ten where you're going to need coaching matters.
And that's the thing is both these programs, both Stanford and Washington, had to had to nail this down. They got good coaches because they're both making conference moves. Stanford to ACC and Washington to the Big Ten.
Big ones.
All right, coming up next, what is a Kim Mulkey and why is it angry? But first, here's Big Will Betts with the Sports Center update. has been a national powerhouse for quite a while under Mulkey. She is very much in the vein of terrible human, great basketball coach.
She is not won less than 25 games in 21 consecutive years.
That's really good.
She is. Say what you want about her as a person,
and we all will.
She is a damn fine basketball coach.
Yes, one of the best basketball coaches that exists.
But
it's a very long and drawn out but terrible human by pretty much all accounts. You can go down the list of things of transgressions, so to speak.
She has quite a long list of misdeeds under her
faux pas,
scandals on or in her Wikipedia page.
She's from Baylor. Just say that. She coached at Baylor.
Well,
if you are in any association with the Baylor University, you're a scumbag.
Look, she didn't just coach at Baylor. It was during the Baylor investigation. She said that anybody that says anything bad about Baylor should be punched in the face. Baylor should be punched in the face. A women's basketball coach, any coach of a women's sport, any person that claims to champion themselves as a person standing up for women in any realm.
Hell, just a decent human.
You cannot sit there and defend Baylor after what happened there. It wasn't just Art Briles in the football program.
No.
It was the university as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was beating of women, raping of women, drugging of women, like if they went, you could check every single box. And there is not they should be punched in the face when it comes to Baylor. Baylor was horrifically run, and the fact that they just got a slap on the wrist,
still insane,
is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling. But that's just like the tip of the iceberg with Kim Mulkey, because we've had this steady trickle over, her 21 years of dominance that we can say it has been 21 years of dominance as a coach, that she is a red ass of the highest order.
That's maybe perhaps paying her too much of a compliment. But they go into their opening round game against Rice. And as they come out of that, she, in her post-game press conference, addressed a possible distraction that may or may not be impacting the team.
No, listen, man, we're not going to let one sleazy reporter distract us from what we're trying to do. Absolutely not. My kids didn't even know I said that yesterday. That team's not involved in this. They were in shock when they saw all that on the internet.
Okay, what all that was pertains to what has now been leaked out as a piece being written by the Washington Post. That piece was originally leaked out by Pat Forty, who said that he had gotten word that a particular article was being done by the Washington Post and that LSU and Kim Mulkey were circling the wagons. Why would they do that? Well, because the piece is probably not going to be all too favorable because it involves Kim Mulkey. Again, preface that with everything that we just discussed. Terrible human, lots of things she has done wrong or poorly, and a writer who works in the vein of writing alongside the intersection of sports and life. Think about, if you're unaware, Baxter Holmes is an investigative reporter for ESPN who, if you see him investigating you, run, because he's going to find whatever it is you did and he's going to highlight it. The writer here is not one that would be linked with hit pieces, but one that does their research over a very long period of time.
Well, in the author is Kent Babb is his name, and who is multi-time won Writer of the Year, whether
Awards,
it's from the Associated Press, ESPN's award for literary writing, the best American sports writing he's won 3 times, like the year's best sports writing he's won AP editor's first place in writing 3 different times. He's a very accomplished writer and actually was the co-author of Allen Iverson's biography. He is a very accomplished sports writer, and you said the intersection of life and sports. He writes a lot about mental health, wealth, physical health, and how those worlds collide with sports. And Kim Mulkey, 2 days before they played in the women's tournament, took the podium, and she used her time to just go off on a hit piece that is coming, and said that the writer who wrote a hit piece on Brian Kelly, who's the head coach at LSU, that he's a sleazy scumbag writer, went off on all of these things about how we're, a day before we play in the NCAA women's tournament, and he dumps 12 questions on me that they said they're going to go to print, and I need to respond to those, and the university needs to respond to us as a distraction as we're getting ready for the tournament. She also followed that up with, he's been trying to get me on record for 2 years.
Yes, the exact quote is, after 2 years of trying to get me to sit with him for an interview, he contacts LSU on Tuesday as we were getting ready for the first round of the game of this tournament with more than a dozen questions demanding a response by Thursday, right before we're scheduled to tip off. Are you kidding me?
Okay, this is standard procedure for a journalist, is that you try to get them on record. You go, if they're unwilling to do so, you go and you do your background, you get all the interviews. She's claimed that one of the sleazy parts that he did was offer anonymity to former players and coaches and assistant coaches and coaches that she played for to say something, which also is standard procedure, is, hey, we'll put your name to it, but if there's anything that we can do on background, what you have to do is you have to vet those things that they say on background, confirm them, verify them. And if you are a good sports writer or journalist, you go and you verify those things before you put them into print.
Anonymous or not, you still get 2 independent sources on top of it.
But this is the thing with Mulkey that it just doesn't add up, is you can't sit there and say they're dumping this on you when he'd been trying to get you on record for 2 years.
She specifies he's been trying to chase me for 2 years, and now the audacity. Look, I am not going to give her any benefit of the doubt, but I do find it interesting that the timing of the piece was scheduled with the response time right before they tip off. That was on purpose to generate interest around the story.
But here's the thing with Mulkey, what she's doing is, the Streisand effect?
Yes.
You know what that is? Where
the whole idea about her photo.
2003, Barbara Streisand tried to, through lawyers, just bury a photo that was used of her estate, I think in the Malibu Hills, which was used to highlight the erosion along the coastline. And what ended up happening was Barbara Streisand created such a hubbubaloo about this whole deal that all of a sudden it became a bigger point than the actual story of erosion on the California coastline itself. Is why in the hell is Barbara Streisand trying to cover this up? And it actually brought more attention to the matter than if she would have just allowed the photo to be used. So the Streisand effect in all this is Kim Mulkey, she has a feeling based on the questions that she got of what this thing is going to be about. Nobody would have cared as much as they are going to care now about this because of what Kim Mulkey did. In trying to bury this whole thing, trying to discredit the Washington Post, trying to discredit the writer, it is making this a bigger ordeal for her to have to go through, because I would have just been like, oh, wow, another piece about Kim Mulkey not being a great human. Okay, seen that before.
Yeah. Now
everybody's going to read this and be like, whoa. And look, there's a lot that this could be about. And
That's
if you're wondering,
it could be about a lot of different things.
She brought up in her pressing about the hit piece that was done about Brian Kelly that this guy Kent Babb did. It had nothing to do about Brian Kelly being a bad person. It wasn't about what happened at Notre Dame with Brian Kelly. It was about how the intersection of sports and life, and how the athletic department at LSU is thriving. Meanwhile, it's not it's an impoverished area, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the shadows of, the football stadium. You have people living in poverty. And that's kind of what it was about. And the only negative thing was a quote from a person on the board of directors from LSU saying, hey, the thing is, we got Brian Kelly's getting paid by Notre Dame and by us. Meanwhile, there's people that can't eat out here. It wasn't like Kent Babb went out there and was like, I'm going to make this up. It wasn't a hit piece either. It was about the area of Baton Rouge and how we probably think of Baton Rouge, Louisiana as, hey, that's where LSU is. They've got $100 million facilities all over the place. They got a $100 million football coach. They got a basketball coach they're paying $30 million to over 10 years. Things are going well in Baton Rouge. It was to highlight not all is great in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yes.
And that's not a hit piece on Brian Kelly either. Like that, that's the
No,
crazy
it's
part
it's
about
it's
all
a presenting
of
of evidence and a juxtaposition. A hit piece is what Shams Charania and Slater did to the Trailblazers about making things up about Gary Payton II being ejected with Toradol shots. That's a hit piece.
this. Sure.
It
there
doesn't.
you go.
There's no basis in reality. There's no founding. There's nothing there that was actually true. That's what a hit piece looks like.
Now,
Saying something that's maybe something that doesn't paint you in the best light, that is not a hit piece.
Now, here's where the Mulkey thing, like it really does, it comes to a head because people just want to say, this is a horrible thing for Kim Mulkey. We don't know what's in the article, do we?
No. It's going to be interesting, though. to see what
She
comes out of
doesn't
it.
know what's in the article, but we can read the tea leaves, and with her history of controversies that have surrounded her, you can take your pick. You could take your pick about whether it was, with Brittany Griner, who said that she had addressed the team and said, you can't come out as gay because it can make it hard for recruiting for us, right? It could be about things like that. It could be about her stance on COVID, which I don't think anybody's going to really care about right now
No.
because it's 2024.
But also on the keeping their sexuality quiet, it also pertains to one of her former players at Baylor, and Brittany Griner, who was obviously held in Russia for extended period of time against her will, and Mulkey never addressed it. Came to her side, hasn't spoken to her since. So it could be about that relationship. Basically, there's a multitude of things that makes Kim Mulkey shows how Kim Mulkey is a terrible person. That she's trying to get out in front of this. It's like, we all knew you're terrible. We all talk about it regularly that you're terrible.
Yeah.
Why doth you protest too much?
She does seem to get a little bit of like a blind eye towards it, and maybe that's just because she's in the South where it does seem like sports are bigger. But like for a lot of people my age, I feel like that don't know about what she was doing when she was at Baylor. People who are just now starting to pay attention to women's college basketball and women's sports in general see her as kind of this like larger than life character who wears these funny things on the sidelines and says things that you don't normally hear out of a women's basketball coach. So I wonder if she's trying to protect that image, whereas like
she's trying to get out ahead of the tough questions that were asked after 2 years of ignoring the writer. She got them lumped on her plate saying, is this true? And you know what? Like you sit there and we don't know what's in that article, but you go, why is this defense so staunch if you have nothing to hide?
Also,
and he's not a sleazy reporter,
2
by the way.
years working on this.
Yeah. It's going to be juicy.
Yeah, there's going to be something there.
Yeah. I think she's making this far worse than it should have been.
Again, doth protest too much.
I don't know why at LSU, who in their PR department said,
get up there and fight this.
This is the good plan. Yeah. This is going to be the path.
Let's
that
get
we
out
go
in
down.
front of this.
Instead of formulating in this time without making it a big deal before you enter the NCAA tournament. As she said in that clip, her players didn't even know about it until everything started going off on the internet. You know why? Because you said it.
Mm-hmm. It's all very dumb.
Because you made it a bigger deal than it really was. And you could have just spent this time saying, all right, we have these 12 questions. How are we can email the reporter, text the reporter saying, look, give us through the weekend, and after we play our first 2 games, we will answer all of these questions, 1 through however many you have, and we can go down and use that weekend to formulate your plan of how you're going to attack this, and then how, once the article is released, how you can spin it forward. What they did was they made this whole story way bigger than it ever should have been in the first place.
They dumped gas on the fire. Or ammonium nitrate.
Washington Post is pretty happy about it.
Yeah, they'll reap the fruits of that reward for sure. All right, coming up next, we'll get ready to hand you off to Isaac Stute here next on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Shohei Ohtani is up on the stand delivering his statement. He is saying he's never bet on baseball, never gone through a bookmaker. Ippei's a liar.
Ippei, he did. He said Ippei has told lies, and he stole a bunch of money from him.
Shohei Ohtani just now, up until a couple days ago, I didn't know this was happening.
He said, I'm very sad and shocked that somebody who I trusted had done this.
Look, I want to believe Shohei.
The playbook.
I also want to go, this sounds